Guys,
Yeah,
been
sure.
doing, in the field of trading for about 10 years. Um, I used to be a trader myself. I still do trade long term. Adil and I send him some stuff. He sends me some stuff, but mainly, my expertise is mostly on psychology. I have talked with thousands of traders, um, and just seen everything. And I have talked to so many traders that when you talk to thousands of traders, you start to recognize certain patterns. So today, I want to do a little bit of kind of a psychology, talking about the psychology of trading. I want to relay a couple concepts across, and really the goal of today is to kind of have everybody here kind of taking a personal self-reflective look at their own psychology, beliefs, subconscious, things that might be holding them back, and then some tools that we might be able to use to help us with that. So, I'll start by this. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see. Yeah, I think you have to allow screen
Oh yeah,
share.
perfect. Should be able now.
All right. Ay, ay, ay. Find the one that I need to share. Guys, I have so many open.
Generic gambler. One of everyone in the chat. Trading specific questions we'll go through after. This is just going to be the psychology lesson.
Guys? You know what I'm gonna do? I might just drop the document in the chat so that you guys can kind of follow along.
Perfect, perfect.
1 second. All right. Okay. So bear with me, guys. I have so many things open here. Okay, share page unknown. It's not showing me a preview of all the documents that I've opened, so give me just a second.
No stress. I'm going to upgrade the Zoom so more people can join because it's capping me at 99. Perfect.
Hold shift. You guys know when you get the preview of which thing you're going to share. I can't see. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop this document in the chat and you guys can follow along. Just a second. Okay. Where's the chat? You think if I just drag it into the Zoom, it'll go?
Uh, Hopefully. Does it say which screen you're sharing?
There we go. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. That's what's throwing me off. Can you guys all see that?
Yeah, I can see the link you just dropped in the chat. Yeah, nice.
Okay. So for visual reference, I have a visual guide as well. I'll drop that as well. Visual guide. So open up the visual guide, guys, and we'll go through that. And that is in the chat now. Okay? Let me know when you guys get that. So there should be two documents. This is just kind of week one of a course that talks about some of this that we've put together here. Um, you guys get the visual guide?
Nice. I got it.
So if you guys want to give that, open that up, and I'm going to kind of start walking through this, okay? So I wish there was a way to manually share my screen where I'm not, um, here, let me see here. Share. Here, we could just share entire screen. Guys, I just got a new computer, so this might be a little bit, yeah, I don't think this is a deal. Can you share the visual guide? Actually, I think that would, why don't you share your screen of the visual guide and then I can narrate.
So let me just get it open. 1 sec. All right, I'll scroll through as you're speaking.
And I'm going to drop two and three as well. Because we might, if we have time, we'll go over those.
Yeah, no stress. Can everyone see my screen with the visual guide?
Cool. Perfect. Okay. So you guys can kind of see that map. So let's zoom in a little bit. Adil, if you're able to zoom in at all. Um, do you see all these colorful bubbles that we have here? So this is very much what our mental web of trading looks like, right? So if we can see, right, let's look at this. So we have childhood, right? And then we have work hurdles, home life, uh, moneyisms, um, PSE, these are thoughts around money, lifestyle, social network, friends, education, trading experience, types of systems, system confidence, performance confidence, profits, experience, profitable thinking, non-traders, other traders, right, what they're saying. And then, thoughts on money lead to unconscious thoughts, which then kind of reflect in-moment execution, trade outcome, thought channel. So you guys see all this, right? So this was a mental mind web taught to me by a mentor of mine. And this is like when we look at trading, it's not one simple thing. It's not, I need to just simply think better. I need to turn off my emotions. No, it doesn't work that way. Our mind is very much a spider web of ideas, of beliefs, of things that happen to us, relationships that we have, right? And when we're trading, the things that will show up in one part of our life will show up in our trading life. So for example, a individual, and this has happened to me. This is actually how I got into this mindset, you know, training and things like that. One thing that happened to me was I had a very hard time, probably about 11 years ago in my life, setting boundaries with people that, might have been toxic, might not have been the best for me. And probably we've all been there, whether it's a bad relationship, friendship that just wasn't, what it should have been. We'll find that we'll have that pattern will reflect in our trading. So we might have a problem bringing our stop loss to break even when it comes to boundary setting. If it comes to confidence in making decisions in our personal life, maybe we had an overbearing teacher or parent that was very critical of us. So when we're put on the spot, we have that gut wrenching feeling in our, kind of in our stomach area, and we have trouble making decisions. All these things show up when we're trading. So when we're trading, it's very much like we're holding up a mirror to ourselves and we're looking at a reflection of ourselves through the chart. Does that make sense, guys? Yes. Got some thumbs up. Okay. So, really like what I teach is kind of how to identify some of these patterns, how to break through and kind of be able to arm ourselves with the tools that we need to get through this, right? So everybody has you probably heard of a conscious mind, a subconscious mind. We also have something called an unconscious mind, right? So, um, what's the difference between subconscious and unconscious? Well, the unconscious, psychologically speaking, is thought to be inaccessible, right? So these are things like breathing, like blinking our eyes, like as if, our bladder doesn't have bladder control and we just pee, right? So these are all unconscious things, right? Subconscious thoughts often stem from situations where we've buried things. So subconscious, think of it as buried, right? Now, subconscious thoughts can be tricked to come to the surface. And with some work, we can actually change these thoughts, right? And this is where we kind of build our belief set. So if we grow up in a household where maybe there wasn't a lot of money and our parents told us all the time, there's no money, money doesn't grow on trees, right? Then that might become a belief, right? And then we get into subconscious beliefs, right? Which is essentially our way of navigating the world. And so to rewire the subconscious mind is rewiring and looking at our beliefs and being able to implement new belief systems, right? So our beliefs are, why we do not experience the life that we want, right? If you look at Jeff Bezos or all these guys, right? I can promise you guys that they have a very different belief system about how their world works, right? This isn't spiritual beliefs, this is more life beliefs. So this applies to all areas of life, right? Athletes, traders, college professors, everything, right? Every field out there. So what you believe matters. So we can go down to that picture, the spider web deal.
Yeah.
Um, this is kind of a way to look at our beliefs is our beliefs, and when we trade is very much like a spider web, right? With a spider web, if I touch a part of the spider web on one side, it's going to actually reverberate and be felt throughout the entire spider web. So when we're trading, right, I'm sure we've all had this happen where we're trading and maybe a strong emotional belief of fear comes up. We have a sinking feeling in our stomach when a trade is losing or when we realize we made a mistake, right? So these in psychology could be also called emotional flashbacks, where we're flashing back to a time where something like that happened, right? But ultimately, the key is changing our beliefs around money, around trading, around ourselves, right? So that the reverberation becomes less or non-noticeable at all in that spider web, right? And every belief that we have influences every part of our life, right? So this happens even if we really don't know how we got that belief. So if we're 5 years old and something happened to us at 5 years old that we don't really remember that well, but our subconscious mind remembers. Your subconscious mind is actually very much like a video recorder. It actually stores everything. But consciously, you don't necessarily have the immediate recall space in your conscious mind to be able to consciously recall those things, right? Does that make sense, guys? I got to go back to the Zoom. We're getting some thumbs up. Makes sense. Cool. All right. BKM and Dihan gave us a thumbs up. Awesome. So, um, so essentially, we have to rewire our brain to have the type of beliefs that we want to have, right? So, for example, we all have trading goals, right? If we say to ourselves, you know, I want to live in a really nice, expensive home, right? There's a difference between saying it and truly believing that, yes, I am worthy and deserving of that home, right? I'm sure you guys all know this is like the, kind of the mental battle when someone's like, well, I don't need all that. That's excessive. Or, you know, I'm simple, but I want an $8 million home because those two things contradict each other to the subconscious mind, right? So if we say, I really want that $8 million house, it's got the beachfront property, the boat, the hot tub, the, you know, whatever, you know, built-in coffee machine, right? It's a really nice house. That's idealism, right? We're saying, oh, we're being idealistic. That would be cool. But if in our mind, when we actually start looking at that house and how to purchase it, it comes up like, I don't really need all this. It's a lot of money. I shouldn't do that, right? Essentially, those are our beliefs coming to the surface, and we're tricking them to come to the surface, right? So essentially, we want to trick these things to come to the surface and differentiate between desires, right? Which we talked about. I desire to have that $8 million house, which are usually conscious, and beliefs, which are or subconscious, not unconscious, subconscious. Okay. So beliefs are different than desires. Okay. Does that make sense, guys? So how do we change these beliefs, right? A lot of people will say, gurus, Tony Robbins, all these guys will say, well, it's just positive thinking, right? Just sit there, say it enough times till you believe it. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the mainstream, you know, success guru tard stuff that a lot of those people will preach. But really, psychologically, in terms of psychology, that's not the most effective thing to do because we can sit there and say to ourselves over and over, I'm going to live in the $10 million mansion. We can say this and we can repeat it to ourselves until we're blue in the face, but it doesn't address the underlying subconscious belief that needs to be changed, right? It's not enough to change the actual belief, right? What this becomes about is examining those beliefs that we currently have those beliefs that are holding us back from getting to where we want to go, right? And one way that we have to do this is to pay attention to how we talk about ourselves. And we need to compare our self-talk to our outer goals, right? So, for example, if we say, well, I don't really need all that, that's excessive, right? That's not the same thing as saying, I deserve to live in an $8 million house. I deserve to be in a property that has 10,000 square feet, or if you're in the European, unlike America, where everything's feet and stuff, meters, it's 2,500, 3,000 square meters, right? Saying I actually, why don't I believe that? Why don't I believe that I deserve this? Right? So, what I want to do, guys, I want to actually run through a exercise right now that I want to have everybody do. Okay? So, are you guys ready? Let's get some thumbs up for if we're ready to do this. What I need all you guys to do, is kind of find like a little place that's quiet if we can, where you can just close your eyes for a few seconds, take a deep breath. Maybe if you're at work or you're out and about, you might do this later. I think we're going to have a recording available, right, Adil?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So it'll be recorded.
So, what I want you guys to do, okay, find a chair, just lean back, relax. Let's start with just a couple deep breaths to just set our state right. So, like, I'll count this out and I'll do this with you guys. It's not silly, we're just relaxing, okay? So, one big deep breath in, like hold it for 2, 3 seconds, and then exhale 3 seconds. So we're going to do that just 3 times. Just 3 deep inhales, hold it for 2, 3 seconds, exhale through the mouth, 2, 3 seconds. Okay. So we'll do 1, 2, 3 seconds in. We're going to hold 2, 3 seconds. And then we're going to exhale through the mouth. And then we'll do it once more. So deep breath in through the nose, fill up your chest. 2, 3 seconds holding the breath in, and then 2, 3 seconds exhale. Okay? Just, shrug your shoulders, just feel nice and relaxed. Okay? Now, everybody should be feeling relaxed. Close your eyes if you feel like it's going to relax you more. Everybody should be feeling very relaxed. Okay? I want everybody to say to themselves very sincerely, I want you to say this out loud. We're all muted here, so no one's going to hear you. Okay? And I want everyone to say here, this year, I am going to make $1 million. Or if you're in, UK, £1 million, or the equivalent of such. Okay. So this year, I'm going to make $1 million. Okay. Now, when you guys say this, and I want you to say it out loud, say it out loud. And I want you to just hear yourself say it. Let it marinate. Okay. Roll it around in your head. This year, I'm going to make $1 million. Listen to that statement. Ask yourself right away, what happens next? What does your inner voice say when you say that? Okay. Note that down. Write it down on your phone or on a notepad. What does your inner voice say? Does it say, oh, yeah, right. You got a lot of work to do, right? Does it say $1 million? How? How am I ever going to possibly do that in a year? Does it say, better get your act together? Does it say, I don't think so. You never made that kind of money before. Write down the response that you're getting. Okay. So for those of you guys that need to kind of repeat this again, we're going to say out loud and we're going to really pay attention to what the next thought is, right? Immediately. And it might be a small inkling, a small feeling, right? This year, I am going to make $1 million. And we're going to note the next thing that happens. So it's usually pretty typical for this inner voice to be very negative and similar to kind of some of the examples that I gave. This exercise identifies for us what our beliefs are, what the driving forces in our life is. And the purpose of this exercise is to essentially uncover what beliefs are deep inside our mind. right? And often these beliefs might be nasty, right? They might to get you to not visualize making $1 million, right? Kind of visualize catastrophe. And just when we do this, just when we take a moment and pay attention in busy 9 to 5 world where everybody's on the move, right? That's how these things get buried. That's how we have these subconscious problems. If you guys actually look at tribes in Africa, Ethiopia especially, they have this. They will have, sorry guys, I got my cat here. They will have they will get together as a tribe and they will meet and they will go over this every week, right? Imagine we lived in a society where this was done, what we're doing now, every single week, right? A lot of these subconscious beliefs that we hide, that we bury with stress, with life, these would come to the surface and we'd be able to address them, right? So essentially now what we're going to get is drive what the belief, which is driving your behavior, right? So this is the root of your action. So we've tricked it to come out. So Adil, you can kind of go to that iceberg slide.
Yeah.
So this is very much what we're looking at if you guys know psychology, right? We have the subconscious, that part on the surface there. We have the subconscious, which is kind of that part in the middle and it's under the surface. We've tricked that to come out. And then we have the unconscious, which is that part much further below, right? You guys can see that third part, right? And that's kind of our actions that we need to stay alive, right? So we just trick the middle part to come to the surface, okay? So I want to we can go to the next picture, Adil. So I want to kind of transition into a story, okay? Are you guys familiar with um, I forgot his name. His name is he's here somewhere. Roger Bannister. You guys familiar with him? Anybody familiar with Roger Bannister? Okay, maybe not. Roger Bannister was the first person to ever break the 4 minute mile. Okay. So we're going to kind of talk about that story. This story is about running, right? But it's very heavy on subconscious beliefs. Okay. And this is, I think, somewhere in the 1930s, I believe. It was commonly held belief by society, not just ourselves, but by society as a whole, that no one could run a mile in 4 minutes. Okay. This belief went back to even ancient Greece. Okay. They believed that they had to put animals in cages with people to make them run faster. So, um, basically it basically became a commonly accepted societal belief that no one could run faster than a 4 minute mile. And back in the turn of the century, they were putting together, these uh, graphics of people and saying, see, it's impossible for a human to run due to their biology and their makeup in 4 minutes, right? So scientists basically bought into this belief system, okay? And this is very powerful, right? When you what if you guys think about it, what are companies in the world, right? It's nothing more than a group of people who share a belief system. So beliefs are really powerful, right? And it's also very powerful who we let share our beliefs and who we let influence our beliefs, whether that be family or friends, right? If we have friends that don't believe that trading is possible, and we surround ourselves with 10 people that think, yeah, you're just wasting your money, you're just gambling, right? That's going to influence ourself. That's going to influence our belief, right? So our belief has to be stronger than the influence of those 10 people's beliefs. So what's really cool about this story is all of society believed that it was impossible to run a mile in 4 minutes. They just assumed humans aren't made to run a 4 minute mile. Okay. So basically along came this guy, Roger Bannister. And oh, by the way, I want to put a little side note. I think I put that in the guide there, but um, society believed that people would suffocate on trains because back then people used trains for travel, right? So they believed if trains went too fast, people would actually suffocate, and that the speed would be too fast for people. There would be a lack of air, people would choke and suffocate, right? So this was obviously later disproven, but this was the belief, right, around, running a 4 minute mile. Okay. So along comes this guy, Roger Bannister, and he basically did what most people thought was impossible to do. He broke the 4 minute mile barrier, right? He practiced alone in private over and over and over. And his belief was, no, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it, right? At that time, people believed that it was very much like the sound barrier, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with aviation. I also used to work in aviation as well. In aviation, prior to the sound barrier being broken, people thought it was impossible to break the sound barrier, and that was the limit on how fast you could go. So, very similar a belief existed here. So, Roger Bannister trained for approximately about 3 years, and he broke the 4 minute mile barrier, and it was huge. It was nobody had done it in 2,000 years. Okay. And after he broke it, about 16 more people broke the 4 minute mile barrier. But it took him and his belief and basically tuning into, hey, wait a second, I believe it. And then he took the actions necessary to actually break that record, right? He believed, yes, I can do it. He created okay, if I want to do it, I have to keep training, and I have to break that time in my training consistently, and then break the record when everybody's watching and it can be proven. And that's what he did, right? This is the power of belief, right? This is the power of us being able to actually say, hey, here's my belief. I want the $8 million house. Here's the map of how to do it. Let me break the beliefs that I have constraining me to getting to this goal. Okay. And a lot of times that's what that's what stops us, right? We can go to the next slide, Adil. Oh, okay. So I want to talk a little bit about levitation and hypnosis. So this story is actually very incredible. It's not talked about. Um, Remember, guys, this is just, I mean, I think this is factual, but I'm of the belief that anytime something comes up that challenges the status quo of our society, of our understanding of science, a lot of times it's not talked about. But this story is 100% true. You can look it up. You can do the research on it. But in the 1700s, there was concern about something which at the time was called mesmerism. Okay, today we call it hypnosis. Okay. Society was very concerned with this hypnosis or mesmerism, which is what they called it at the time, because they didn't truly understand it and they wondered if it was actually dangerous for people. At the time, Benjamin Franklin put together a commission to study this mesmerism. As you guys know, Benjamin Franklin, he was a pivotal American figure. I know a lot of you guys are European, but I don't know how much of the U.S. history they teach in Europe. But Benjamin Franklin was a big science guy. He wrote a lot about science, and he basically wanted to study this mesmerism, this hypnosis, what we'd call today as hypnosis, right? And the weird thing is they needed a way to determine if someone was really under the influence of hypnosis or not, right? So they needed to establish an actual criteria for what hypnosis was, if a person was in a hypnotic trance or not. Okay, I think we can go to the next slide. Oh no, we're good. We're good. Let's go back. So, um, basically, they decided to use a standard side effects that were seen and associated with being in a hypnotic state. This is during the 1700s, during the early days of America. Okay. One of the criteria was if the person was under hypnosis, was if the person under hypnosis was observed levitating. Okay. You did not hear that wrong. At the time, it was documented, and you guys can look this up. They have papers on this. They have written about this, that it was notated at the time people that were under the influence of hypnosis would actually levitate. Okay. And remember, this is a scientifically funded and assembled commission. Okay. You could look this up. Benjamin Franklin began observing people when they were under the influence of hypnosis. He checked to make sure there were no hidden wires, anything like that. And people were put in hypnosis in wide open spaces. And this levitation criteria was basically the main indicator in how to decide if someone was under hypnosis or not. If they didn't levitate, they weren't considered to be under the influence of hypnosis. Now, a lot of people ask, right, why haven't people who've been hypnotized today, why aren't they under hypnosis? That doesn't make sense. Well, we have today something called catalepsy, which is when you can make a person stiff as a board. And if you guys watch, I highly recommend, for those of you guys from the UK, you guys might be familiar with Darren Brown. A lot of people think, Darren Brown is, I don't know, kind of a showman, and he is. But Darren Brown is a master hypnotist, okay? And he has gotten people to do some incredible things under hypnosis, where he has gotten people to puncture a needle through this part of their hand and they don't feel it. He has gotten people to actually experience hypothermia, being, bathed in ice water where they can't feel it. You guys have probably seen people like Wim Hof, right? Who can defy science. Wim Hof literally defies science by essentially the power of belief, right? And that's what hypnosis does. Okay, so really, there is no limit to the power of belief. Okay, and there are documented instances of humans doing things that by today's standards we wouldn't consider possible. Okay, there are stories of monks in China that have cured um, tumors using the power of what they call chi, right? Life force. But again, this is all the power of belief, right? And these people, our beliefs affect one another, right? So if you actually look at stories of people that have been healed, their tumors have been healed by these practicing qigong masters. They will not work with you if you don't believe that what they do can work. And that would make sense, right? If we went into an operation, right? If we went into surgery and we really believe, no, the surgery didn't work. No, the surgery didn't work. No, the surgery didn't work. And we held that belief stronger than the people on the other end that are sharing this experience with us, than the surgeon, etc. Right? Then actually we would probably say it didn't work. Right? So we get into this weird kind of mystical, spiritual component of this, which is actually quite fascinating. And again, I highly recommend you guys check out Darren Brown. Okay, he will do a lot of this stuff. He'll go into a lot of this stuff. But uh, let's go back to kind of Benjamin Franklin's story. So why aren't people levitating today? Well, the answer is that people don't believe it's possible. Okay, basically as we started to discover the laws of science, more and more and more people believed it's not possible. So people could not actually be hypnotized into doing it due to belief systems that have changed over the years in society, right? Isn't that crazy? Right? So it makes you wonder, right? What else is possible, right? I know we have a lot of different beliefs in here, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, etc., right? Think about some of these stories that have happened in biblical times, right? That may have been influenced by our beliefs, right? So we can only imagine, right? And like, let's think about it. What's happened between the 1700s and today? Well, Newton's laws, right? Newton's laws are taught. We are taught from a young age it's not possible to levitate. There's gravity, this and that. So if we're taught that at a young age, essentially brainwashed into thinking that at a young age, it would make sense that you couldn't be hypnotized to levitate because that's internalized, right? Does that make sense, guys? I mean, it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense, right? So essentially, our beliefs drive what's happening around us. So we can go to that iceberg slide.
Sure.
There we go. So um, basically, right, if we look at the iceberg, right, so we have our conscious mind and we have our subconscious mind, right? And we can kind of see here on the left the wind is moving at 100 miles an hour for the conscious mind, but the current on the other side is moving at 95 miles an hour, right? So we're not going to go anywhere, right? Our speed is about 5 miles an hour. But if we look on the right, the wind is moving in the same direction that our subconscious mind is moving, right? So what we what we need to do is align these two. Well, how do we do this after we've had years of beliefs kind of imprinted into us, right? Well, this is where we get into tools like hypnosis, right? Um, let's see. What's the next slide, Adil?
That's it.
Okay. So, because on mine, I have a few more. So, this is where you get into things like hypnosis, like meditation, right? And if you guys want, we have a trading hypnosis that we can get you guys. But we have tools like that, right? And we need to systematically look at our life, right? And look at what stops us from getting to our goal, right? So if it's a belief around money, right? We need to go deeper. We need to go a level deeper and see, well, what created that belief, right? Why is that there? Well, why do I believe there's not money? Well, I believe that it's hard to, uh, earn $1 million a year. Well, why do you believe that it's hard? Well, that's what I was told growing up. Well, when were you told that growing up? See, this is what we're doing now is called a root activity. And we're actually going to do one right here. But what we need to do is we need to do a root activity, identify where our beliefs are missing, and then create the beliefs that are missing or are opposite of what we want to support what we want on the surface in the conscious. Does that make sense, guys? Any questions so far? Anybody got questions? I want to kind of have a few minutes to answer any questions or psychologically related issues here.
I think someone was asking the experiment you were talking about. I wanted to look into it.
Yeah, so which one are you talking about, the levitation stuff? Are you talking about um yeah. Okay, so what you can do is you can look up something called, give me one
Yeah, the
second.
levitation one. Yeah, they want
So
to
what you
video.
want to do is look up something called the Benjamin Franklin Commission. Okay? You're gonna have to look up a couple keywords. You're gonna look up Benjamin Franklin Commission. You want to look up the word mesmerism, right? So basically it's when the Benjamin Franklin Commission was investigating the phenomenon which they called mesmerism. And this was in, I believe, the late 1700s during, the early American colonies. So how does the trading hypnosis work? Um, could you please explain to me keep until the take profit? Because most traders, yeah. Okay, great. That's a good, okay. Let's start with Tanzer. I hope I'm saying that right. So how does the trading hypnosis work? Well, what happens is, right? Have you guys ever been at a campfire, right? When you're sitting around a campfire and you're looking at a flame and you sort of get really tired and like zoned out and you're in this weird kind of drowsy state. Have you guys ever had that happen? Anyone? Okay. Yes. So the reason why that happens is our brain oscillates at a certain frequency. Okay. And we have different brain states, and actually, different parts of our brain oscillate at different frequencies, creating an overall frequency of our brain. So, if we have enough parts of our brain oscillating in a lower frequency, our brain goes to a lower frequency, right? So there's different states, right? We have theta, we have delta, we have alpha, beta, right? So when we're in hypnosis, we're essentially in theta, which is right before we're sleeping. Have you guys ever been in that drowsy state where you're half asleep, half awake? That's actually when we're most in tune with our subconscious mind. Now, the reason why that happens when we look at a campfire is because when we're looking at a campfire, the campfire mimics that actual frequency in our brain, which is, I believe, between 8 and 12 hertz. Okay? So basically, what it does is it puts our brain in that state. Now, with the trading hypnosis, what that does is it walks us down into that state in our mind. And then it starts telling us stuff when we're in that state, ready to receive and work on it. Think of it like a bridge, right? A drawbridge has to come down like this, right? So think of it as the drawbridge. Our subconscious mind is over here, our conscious mind is over here. And when we get into that state, the drawbridge comes down and we're able to access that, right? So how this track works is it puts you in that state and it starts having you think about stuff and make mental changes while you're in that state. And if we do that enough, right? Now the key to changing this is doing it enough over 30, 40, 50 days, right? Really 30 days minimum every single day, right? Our brain has to get in the habit of doing that, right? So that's kind of how that would work is there would be a track, it would address certain issues. You can message a deal, he can link you with me and we can talk about that. That's no problem and how to implement that. Um, Now let me address okay. Explain to me keeping until the take profit because a lot of traders close early. Right. Great. So this is a great example, guys. So what happens when this happens, right? We're in a trade, we're in that moment of pressure. Now, where's our brain? Our brain is not in that relaxed state, right? Our brain is actually in the highest state, 40 hertz, right? And I have all the like labels of what is what, but when we're at 30 to 40 hertz, we're insanely focused. Like think of it, we are putting together a model or we're focused on something that takes tremendous focus, right? So we're the opposite of being connected to our subconscious. So what happens is our subconscious is going to pop up from underneath, right? And those beliefs are going to force us to do things consciously that we don't want to do, including taking profit early, right? Or violating our rules. So we have to ask ourselves, right? We have to be calm enough to say, wait a second, let me stop the focused thinking, and we have to go through the root activity. Wait a second, I just quit this trade. Hold on, let me stop what I'm doing right now. I exited the trade early. I violated my rules. Let me do a root activity right now. I'm going to walk you guys through a root activity. Okay, I'm going to give you guys the root activity so you guys can do it. You run yourself through a root activity and you say, okay, hold on a second. Why did I cut that trade early? Because I felt like I needed to. I felt like there was pressure. Why did I feel like there was pressure? Well, because I didn't have full confidence in what I was doing. Why didn't you have full confidence? Well, because I'm not sure if what I'm doing is actually working. Well, why aren't you sure of that? Right? And we get to the root belief and we address that belief. Right? And when we get to the root belief, how do we know we get to the root belief? There's no further depth to go. I'm gonna go through one of those activities. I just want to answer a couple questions. What was Shahid? We're gonna go through that, and then I'm gonna give you that activity to do yourself as well. Um, Let me address Matthew. So, at what point do you know when your conscious mind and subconscious mind correspond? Um, have you guys ever played the game Whack-A-Mole? You ever been to one of those arcades and you have to play Whack-A-Mole? You guys know what I'm talking about? Where you got the little hammer and you got to the little mole heads come up out of different spots and you have to like put them all down. That's a great analogy. I hope you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay. That is a great analogy for what the subconscious mind does. Now in whack-a-mole, we don't know which mole is going to come up and out of where. And that's often how our subconscious mind works. We're doing everyday tasks, right? Boom, one comes up. What we have to do is take a step back and not whack the mole down. Take a step back, look at the mole that's coming up, identify what mole it is, right? See when it comes up, why it comes up, and then address from underneath, right, the mechanism that's pushing it up, right? So if we look at an arcade machine, obviously there's some sort of piston that's driven up and down to make the moles come up. And we actually dismantle that piston and mechanism itself. I'm using an analogy here, of course, right? Does that make sense? So essentially, what we're doing when we did that exercise where we said I'm going to make $1 million, right? We tricked a mole to come up, right? We tricked it into coming up, and then we analyzed. Well, wait a second. How did I respond to it? Well, you're not right. When you say Well, I don't, you're not going to make $1 million this year. Well, I don't know how you're going to do that. You got all this debt to pay off. How are you going to do that? Right? What we're doing is we're whacking that mole, and that's not how to fix it. Does that make sense? So we have to take a zoomed out look, which is very hard to do, guys. In 9 to 5 world, right? When we're all busy, we have families, lives, jobs, you know what I mean, friends, other obligations. It's not easy to do this stuff, but it does take time. And this is something like guys, perfecting your trading psychology, it's it's not something that is just, how do I get this done in a month? This is sort of like a commitment to a skill set, right? And as you improve your psychology in trading, it's going to improve your personal psychology. Because remember, a root belief shows up in other areas of your life too, right? So it's no different than if you're in a trade and maybe you take too much risk. Maybe you exit too early. Maybe you exit too late, right? We can extrapolate these things and look at them in our own personal lives and say, well, wait a second. Maybe I'm showing up this way to other things, right? And that's why we address the root cause. How do you know your psychology, your physiology is right before trading? Great question. Um, what I suggest most people do, okay? Not everybody's as, calm and cool and collected as a deal, who's very, very relaxed, right? But guys, when we trade, we want to get into a headspace, right, where we're following a system. It's a system we have full confidence in. We know every eventuality and outcome of what we're going to do, right? Think of this as Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant when they take a jump shot. How many times, right? How many times have they shot the same jump shot? It's got to be in the tens of millions, right? If they're taking 1,000 shots a day, for years, decades, right? Do you think they think about their jump shot when they take it in a game? No, because they've done it so many. They have the confidence, right? Remember, guys, trading can be broken down into one of three things, right? Your system, your psychology, or your risk. Any trading problem, a deal, correct me if I'm wrong, any trading problem falls into one of those three categories.
100%, 100%.
So your system, that's your strategy, right? How you execute it. Your risk, right? That has to be something that's calculated. That's something, guys, that I know I do and a deal does with a lot of our, more one-on-one students, but that's something where actually someone needs to sit down and go over how risk works. Not just how risk works, but how risk works for you, because everybody has different risk tolerance. Okay, some people think I'm really risky. I think the way some other people. I know a trader who risks 50% of his account on each trade. Now that's too risky for me, but you know what? When you have a win rate of 99%, right? That's risk is something, and at a deal, maybe risk would be a cool webinar to do something on, but like where you actually figure out, right, what's the win percentage of your system? Does it, and then based on the win percentage of your system, based on strategy testing and data, how much risk can you actually put towards this where you won't blow the account, right? Doing a risk of ruin calculation, right? And this is something most people don't do. This is essentially, it's no different than Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan getting Tim Grover to go over their technique with them, right? A lot of people look at Kobe, look at Michael, look at Steph Curry, but they don't see the people behind them that help them create that, right? Does that make sense, guys? Somebody had to sit there and watch Stephen Curry shoot and pick it apart and say, you're doing this with your finger when you need to do this with your finger, right? Does that make sense? Not, probably more soccer fans in here if you guys are all from Europe. Sorry, Adil. I know basketball.
It's all good.
So
It's
let's
all good.
um let's go through a little route activity. Um and then we can kind of evaluate time, see if we want to go do a little more, Adil, and then or
Sure.
call it a day. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, no, 100% sounds good.
All right, let me find. Do you guys want to just post some questions while I pull up this route
Yeah,
activity?
sure. I can, yeah, Jay just posted his mental psychology triumph over trading strategy. if you follow the strategy well. And like, even from personal experience, I've always said trading strategies only work if your mental psychology is in check. Two people could trade the same strategy. One's making a lot of money, one's making not, but it's the exact same strategy. And the reasoning behind it is one person mental psychology, they're following the game plan is in check, and the others isn't. That's why you can make money with 1,000 different strategies. I openly say I don't have the best strategy ever. My strategy is not the worst ever. Every strategy works if you have the right mental psychology. So 100%.
Okay, let's um Ideal. I just sent a new document to the chat. Let's see if we can screen share that. And guys, this is the root activity, so download this because it's really important. You can use this over and over and over again.
Should be able to see it.
Cool. So I'm going to just read through this, right? So um, basically, this is the root activity, and we can do this with everything. I actually have what I really, if you guys want to do this seriously, what I really recommend doing, buying a journal, a physical journal, okay? You guys have to understand the difference between journaling and actually typing on a computer is there is a difference. Psychologically, it is more beneficial for you to actually write things down when it comes to your beliefs because more of your brain is involved, okay? So what we do here, right, is we're going to ask ourselves, honestly, is this thing, right, that we need to dig into deeply, right? Have an honest look at yourself, and we're going to ask ourselves, right, what problem will becoming a successful trader solve for me, right? So this is just an example of a question we can ask, right? So what problem will becoming a successful trader solve for me? And we want to ask ourselves that problem until we run out of answers, right? So once you get your list, ask yourself what problem will blank solve for me. So for example, right, what problem would being a successful trader solve for me? Let's say my answer is, well, I don't have time to deal with my boss, right, who's always trying to, you know, get on my ass about stuff and, act like I'm busy, right? Always giving me busy work to do, right? So then you might ask yourself, well, what problem will not having your idiot boss solve, right? So we need to go root by root by root. What's the root of that? What's the root of that? You ever remember when maybe you were a kid and you asked an adult, why, right? We're doing that. We're doing that to ourselves, right? And this is what's going to get to the root, right? So what does that solve? And it might mean, well, that means I can think freely without working from pressure from my boss and be in a negative environment, right? And then you might answer the next question, well, it would mean I could be more creative, have more to do, have more free time, right? Right now, my creativity is repressed because of my boss, right? So this is what we want to do, right? With this example, right? So you'll begin to see the problems as you write these down. So you'll find out it's really not the boss, it's really not the trading, and that it goes to something deeper, right? So let's scroll down to the next page, Adil. So for example, um, let's say, um, let's say we want to focus specifically, maybe you're having relationship problems, okay? Now, I don't want to get too much into that, but like, let's say maybe you're having relationship problems. You can use this there to uncover a root, right? Maybe you're having problems bringing your stop loss to break even, right? We can use that, right? So let's do this for example, right? Like, okay, why am I having trouble getting my stop loss to break even? Now, it's always best when we do this in the moment, right? So you can use this activity proactively or retroactively, right? So I gave you an example earlier of using this proactively where we were in a situation, we lost a trade, and we can use this activity right then and there in the moment, right? We lost a trade, we're pissed off. That would be a great time to use this because we're emotionally charged up, right? So that belief is fresh. It just popped up, right? So we can say, why did that happen? Why did I do that? Okay, let me write that down. Well, why did I do that? And guys, let me tell you something. This exercise, if you are pissed off, it means it's working. Okay. If you're calm, it means this exercise is not working. Now, I speak doing this in a proactive session. Okay. But this exercise is meant to agitate you. I want to be very clear. Okay, this exercise is meant to agitate you. The reason why is we're tricking that subconscious negative belief to come up. We're agitating it. It comes to the surface and we observe it and identify it. And based on that, then we can address that belief through a variety of tools that Adil and I can talk to you guys about. This is essentially what we do, a lot more of this in the one-on-one. Does this make sense, guys? Yes, we get some thumbs up here. Okay. So do you guys see below, Adil, if you go through what the process kind of looks like so you guys can visually see, right? What problem will becoming a successful trader solve for me, right? And then maybe I answer, well, I wouldn't have to spend all my day, or my week in a workplace I hate. I'm spending 60 hours a week. I hate it. Right? Okay. So we move to the next question. What problem will solving, me not being at 60 hours a week solve for me? Well, I feel like I'd get to enjoy my life. I feel like I don't get to enjoy my life right now. Right? So why do I feel like, right? Then we might have to transition, right? Why do I feel like I can't enjoy my life right now? Well, because I'm stuck working 60 hours a week. Well, why do I want to fix working 60 hours a week? So I can spend time with my family, right? So we end up in a loop. That's the root, right? That's the root is okay, I need to spend more time with my family. Right? Now, if we want to get to the emotional, right, root of it, well, why do I feel like I can't quit my job? Why do I feel like I can't trade? Why do I feel like I can't become a successful trader? Well, it could be maybe I haven't invested the time, energy, and effort that I need to. I don't feel confidence in my system, right? Well, what do I need to do to feel confidence in my system? Well, I need to understand the system better. I need to get help so that I do understand it. I need to practice it. I need to strategy test it. Maybe you need some, coaching. Maybe you need somebody to show you, okay, here's what you do. Here's why you do it. Maybe you need to get a risk specialist, right? So do you guys see like how we get to the root of each thing, right? And then we can actually map, okay, well, I've identified what I need to do to reach my goal. Okay. I need to have someone show me risk. I need to strategy test my system so that I'm profitable enough, so that I feel confident enough to trade it live. And then I need to trade it live so I'm not, you know, exiting trades early. Well, why, what would I need to do to get to that point? Well, I need to have such confidence in the system. How much confidence in the system would you see how this exercise works? It sort of doesn't stop until we have a roadmap, right? Well, what would I need to do so that I have confidence in my system? Well, if I had 1,000 winning trades on strategy testing, I'd feel confident in my system, right? This can help us uncover what those problems are. Does that make sense, guys? Yep. Cool. Cool. Any questions that you guys have? No questions? Deal, do you wanna do some Q&A? Do you want to do some,
For sure.
okay.
Cool. For sure. Any questions? Yeah. Any answers? Is it you both who do the one-to-one mentoring? So Ed will get to know you. He'll get to know your root problems, how we can best help you. He'll then pass you on to me, and I'll mainly help you with the technical side of things. And I'll be doing the one-on-one lessons with you. Does believing in my trades increase my win rate? If you don't
That's
believe in, yes, I'll let you.
Yeah, so let me pipe in here. So Dihan, it's very interesting, right? Remember, when a person communicates, right, they actually communicate more than just verbally or auditorily, right? So what's interesting, I see the question you're writing, but how it's written is very insightful as to how you think, right? So let's break this down, right? Believing in your trading, right? What would it take for you to believe in your trading, right? Because the way that question's worded is it's worded as if you don't believe in your trades right now, right? Do you see how you worded the question? So this would be a good root activity for you, right? So it's like, well, why, hold on. Why don't I believe in my trading right now? Well, because I just feel like I don't, it doesn't win enough. Well, why do you feel that way? Well, maybe I don't know. I just don't feel confident enough. Well, what do you need to do to feel confident enough, right? This would be a great time for you to do a root activity, right? On that question, right? Why don't you believe in your trades enough? Right. And again, guys, I can't stress the importance of actually writing this down in a notebook. I know it sounds tedious, but guys, you're going to get so much more out of it. And then you're going to have a notebook of these root activity sessions that you can look at and say, wow, wait a second. You're picking apart your beliefs on paper. That's the power of this. Um, but yeah, I think there's a difference, Dion, between being optimistic, right, and hoping, yeah, I hope it works out, and having that level of confidence that when you're Steph Curry and you shoot the ball, it's going in. It's going in because I've done this a million times, right? So are you at that point where you feel that way? And if not, why not? Right? How do we get you to that point? Um, does that make sense, Dihan? I don't know if I answered his question. Anyway, cool, cool. All right, sorry, Adil, if you want to.
No, no, all good.
Taiwo Epra. I'm sorry, bro. I'm gonna mess up your name if I try to say it. Ephraim. Ephraim. How do I get myself to stop breaking rules? Like not waiting until my trade gets to take profit. Or you want to touch up a little bit on that and then I can add to it a deal?
Yeah, sure. So it's similar to what Ed said as well. Like if you not letting the trade play out to your take profit or stop loss, so they both should be predetermined. Before you enter any trade, you should know exactly where your stop loss is. You should know exactly where your take profit is based on previous data you've collected. If you're not letting it run out to that, it just means you have a lack of belief in your system. And then it goes to back, why do you have that lack of belief? Like Ed said, do the root activity, see what's stopping you, and then work from there.
And also, you know, uh, have you, Taiwo, I hope I'm saying that right. Do you have that belief in your system, right? Good trading, and a deal will tell you this, good, profitable, consistent trading is actually boring.
Super boring. Super boring.
It's boring. You're doing the same, think about it. You're doing the same thing over and over and over that you've practiced. It should be boring, right? I think that's probably why a deal teaches because he gets more enjoyment out of teaching than
Mhm.
trading.
100%.
You know, because good trading, guys, when think about it, if you're trading consistently and profitably the same way over and over and over, right? And we can do another class on. I have a way that I've used with traders in the past to basically turn boring trading into actually exciting trading, which you might want to use yourself. I haven't even, I'm gatekeeping from you too on this, but yeah, does that make sense, Taiwo? Hope so. Cool, cool, cool. All right, what's the next?
Uh,
Um,
Rico, closing too early, closing too late, get stopped out. So exact same thing as Dion and Tyro.
Adil, please explain your state of mind to score this amazing results.
Like it's just boring as possible. I see my setup, it's a good setup, I take it. I don't see my setup, I don't touch a button. You get weeks like that where you're trading the exact same setup, you get 7 winners in a row. I can think to get those exact same 7 setups next week and lose all 7. It's literally it becomes so numb. You're just executing a pattern. You just have to remember your brain. Everything outside that pattern is irrelevant. Everything in that pattern, let it hit your stop loss, let it hit your take profit. Stick to your rules.
So
Simple.
Taiwo, in terms of not breaking your rules, I think you need to do some root activities on why you're breaking the rules, right? So this next week, break the rules. Do it. Just trade as normal, and then each time it happens, do a root activity around it. Um, okay, Rico, closing too early, closing too late, getting stopped out, then goes my way, right? So three different things: closing too early, right? As in I'm assuming you closed the trade too early, right? Well, that's you not following your rules. So why are you not following your rules? You need to do a root activity on that, right? Okay, hold on. I just closed too early, and that's not what my rules are, right? Your rules should be as simple as not going to a casino and gambling, but you are the casino, right? If it when you're the casino, right? There's going to be a day that somebody comes in there and wins jackpots. Shit, everybody today won jackpot. We took a loss. That's fine. Over the next 3 days, we won, right? The casino at the end of the year is net profitable, right? So asking yourself, well, why did I close too early? What caused me to do that? Doing a root activity behind that, finding the core issue, right? And then identifying the path to how to fix that, right? Getting stopped out then goes your way. Well, that implies not confident in the system, right? Remember, sometimes your system is going like every system is going to have losses, right? I know we all want to win, but like it's saying, hey, if I execute this system, I can expect based on what I've tested, that I'm going to win 60% of the time, that my wins are going to outweigh my losers, and that over the course of the next 3 to 6 months, I'm going to make X amount per month, right? We have to zoom out to have that approach. High state, Matthew, that's funny. High state of consciousness. Yeah. I get scared to take a trade, then beat myself up like the strategy worked, but then I take it on live time. I get blown out. Hold on, I get scared to take a trade, then I beat myself up.
Then you saying you get scared, then he misses it, then he enters something silly, and then he blows his account.
So, yeah, so, revenge trading, right? A lot of us do it. I've done it. We've all probably done it at some point, right? Revenge trading is it's funny, right? It is your way of handling that mole coming up, right? That's why people stay stuck in these patterns, right? Your way of handling when your subconscious comes to the surface is essentially, and we all do this, is a self-destructive pattern. We all have self-destructive patterns. Okay, because we live in a society that normalizes this, right? We live in fast-paced society. Everything's moving, moving, moving quick. No time to analyze, right? Well, in a society like that, it's normal that we would enter a pattern like that. So we have to ask ourselves, right? Well, why did I take the trade? Why do I do this? Well, because I want to get a winner. Why? Because I'm in a rush. Why? Because I need money. Well, why do you need money? Because I need to exit this job and I don't like the way things are working right now. Okay, well, why is that? Because I want to have peace of mind. Well, what do I need to do that? Well, I need to trade properly. Well, what do I need to trade properly? Well, I need to sit and strategy test. Well, I still don't understand it. Okay, what do I need to do? Right? We need to go down that line of thinking, right? And find and identify where the bottleneck is. Okay, Shahid, most of the time I know that trade gonna come to take profit. Most of the time it hits as well. The real problem is I don't feel to hold it. Right. So you feel pressure, right? So why do you feel pressure? Right? We got to again, root activity. Why do I Okay, I'm trading right now. Another way to frame this, guys, is stream of consciousness. You're actually documenting your stream of consciousness. Why do I feel pressure? I feel nervous. Why? Well, because I feel like if I lose this trade, I got to start over again. Why do I feel that way? Well, because I've been struggling with this for 3 years and I still can't figure it out. Why do I feel that way? Right? And we have to get to the root cause, right? And if if disappointment is causing us to, right, feel more pressure, right, then maybe we need to say, okay, maybe I need to attack trading differently. Maybe I need to stop trading live. I need to go back to my game plan and go back to trading live when I've proven to myself that I'm consistently profitable and I don't feel that feeling of pressure, right? What is it Kobe Bryant says? Success is nothing more than preparation and practice, you know?
Yeah.
Um, a deal. Have you had any mental blocks or challenges in your trading journey so far? If yes, what and were they? What were
Of course, like 100%, I'm human, right? I wasn't born and was a profitable trader. I had to go through the exact same process that you guys are going through. For example, like accepting losses, that used to have a big effect on my decision making. So if I took a loss, I either used to overtrade and just that's it, blow an account after one loss, or hesitate. I could see the most perfect setup, but just because I saw a loss on the last one, I freeze up. I don't know what to do. So you have to understand that like sticking to a well-defined process. I know that this process over 1,000 trades, I backtested it a stupid amount of trades. I know that this does work. And if I stick to that, that's more important than focusing on individual trade outcomes. That's something to definitely keep note of.
100%.
Wait,
If I just did, well, almost, if you see that's very surface level. What if I adjust my stop loss when it's almost getting hit, right? Are we really addressing the issue, right? Why are you, if you keep adjusting your stop loss, right? Is that what your strategy calls for? Right? Because odds are it doesn't, right? Here's the thing, guys. You that trading when profitable should be boring. Okay. It should be, here's my system. I have every scenario laid out. When this happens, I do this. When this happens, I do this. If this were to happen, I do this. Right? If we're trading and we don't have every scenario mapped out of what could happen, then we're probably not ready to be trading live on that system. Right? I mean, Adil, would you agree?
I was literally just like you pitched that perfectly exactly. If you don't understand exactly what to do in every single scenario, you don't have a system yet because your system should tell you exactly, yo, X happens, I do Y. Y happens, I do Z. And if you're trying to figure that out during the live market, it's too late. You need to have so much data available that you need to know exactly what to do in every scenario. 100%.
So Amos, it's one thing if you're moving your stop loss because your system tells you to, and that those are the rules. But it's another thing if you're moving your stop loss because you're nervous and now you're not following your system.
Exactly.
Right? So now the issue becomes not just psychology, but system because you're not trading your system anymore.
You're having like a hope strategy now. I hope if I move my stop loss here, I hope price will go this way. And long run, that's never going to work out.
Let's see. Another issue is that after I get profitable trade, then I just want to stop, but I still want to take another trade. Then I lose all the money again twice, right? So we have to know, right? Like what's our defined trading period for the day? Right? We can't have this unlimited, I'm going to just keep trading until I'm profitable, right? Hey, here's the app. Okay. Because guys, right, we all want to trade for an hour a day and then we have the rest of the day free time, right? That's the perfect, right? We have students that have done that, right? But in order to do that, you have to stick to that schedule. You have to stay, well, this is the hour I'm trading, period. You have to, you know what I mean? You have to believe that it's not going to be, I'm not going to make this work by trying to make up for my last trade. I'm going to make this work by long term following my system just for a little period of time every day. And that I will have a positive expectancy after a certain amount of time. Right. Um, keep waiting. Yeah, a similar question. Wow, bro knows me so well by just these questions. Yeah, guys, a lot of these questions, this is normal. Like I have talked to thousands of traders, and I mean, Adil, you've talked to many as well.
It's the same
Um,
stuff for everyone.
it's so funny too, guys, because when I talk to all these traders, they're all like, "Well, you don't understand." I'm like, "Trust me, no, no, I do understand. Like, I understand you very well." Um, how many trades, Nolani, how many trades do you recommend we take each session? A deal that might be more,
Yeah,
and that's also very custom to the individual too.
exactly. Again, a lot of these questions can be answered if you have a trusted trading plan. Your plan's going to tell you exactly when to move your stop loss, exactly how many trades to take each session, exactly. I think the previous question was, what do I do if I keep losing my money after the first trade? The plan will tell you, yo, after your first trade, stop trading. I can tell you to take 30 trades a session. If 29 are wins and then the last one's a loss, it's stupid. So you need to have a trading plan based on your system, and that's going to be the answer.
Yeah, I think Nolani, it comes to the trading life that you want to build for yourself, right? How long do you want to trade a day, right?
Exactly.
Because I know traders personally that they were making good money at their job, right? Six figures a year, and they're making triple, quadruple, five times that trading, but their life is 11, 12 hours stuck in front of a computer screen watching every micro pip, right? These guys a Forex scalper, right? But like he complains he has no time. He's making good money, but he has no time. Why? Because he didn't build the trading life that he wanted, right? So, and we do that around, what do you want your life to look like? You know, we do a lot of that, when a deal, I know when we work with some of our one-on-one guys. Mateo, do you think that people prolong becoming profitable based on their actions? Like, I just want to understand why some people can versus some people. Yeah. So, great question. Mateo, I think what happens, right, is we as humans a lot of times don't feel that we deserve good things sometimes. Right? We live in a society that's always saying, well, you don't deserve that, right? Parents, teachers, you don't deserve this, you don't deserve that, right? It's a very common theme, right? So when we actually sit and analyze the thought process, right? And we become more thoughtful about how we're going to become a profitable trader. We analyze our beliefs that are holding us back. And we say, well, okay, here's an honest look. I want to trade no more than 2 hours a day, 4 days a week, because I want to have Friday and Saturday and Sunday off. And, I'm going to follow XYZ and I'm going to remain very detached emotionally. And I don't like saying that because I actually truly believe, guys, the way to fix all your emotional and psychological issues around trading are actually to lean into them, not to avoid them, right? When we suddenly jump into another trade, we do that to forget the last one. We don't do that because we've thought carefully about it. We do it because we don't want to remember the mistake we just made. We're like, oh, maybe if I jump into this other trade right now, real quick, I can make some money and then I don't have to think about that loser. No, the way to fix this problem is to sit in that loser and fully accept those feelings and then analyze why those feelings are there. Right? I've done so much like deep psychological work with traders. Do you guys know the show Billions, by the way?
It's got The Rock in it, no? I never watched it, but I saw it.
Okay, so Billions is based on a real life person, and her name is Denise Schull. Okay, just background, guys. I've worked with them. They were my trading psychologist when I was a trader. Her trading psychologist. She is the world's expert. She like the world's number one trading psychologist is Denise Schull. Okay, you guys can read her book. It's a great book. They work with billion-dollar hedge fund guys. Okay, uh, but their book talks a lot about leaning into the emotions, right? So when you're feeling something strong, like that gut-wrenching feeling, I just lost 400 bucks on this trade. Don't run from that. Face it and lean into it. Yes, I feel upset. And then ask yourself, like, well, why? Is my feeling warranted? Yes, it's warranted because I just lost 400 bucks, right? The answer is not jumping to the next thing. The answer is leaning into that emotion and that psychology and taking a deep dive into that. That's where all these problems are solved.
Yeah,
So
as I say,
uh,
so to add to that, like you need to be self-aware. If you keep doing the same thing that isn't working, you're gonna be like. What makes me laugh is like I know people will spend like literally 8 to 10 hours on the weekend backtesting, and they'll be like, "Yeah, this has an 80% win rate. It's perfect." They'll go to Monday, and then they'll trade something completely different to what they backtested, and then on Saturday they're gonna go and backtest the same thing again. And it's like
yep.
that isn't the problem. If you keep doing that, you're just wasting your time, and it's crazy how many people do that. It's
Yeah,
waste.
guys, you gotta, and so Mateo, people get stuck in that cycle, and I've seen it. And it's a dangerous cycle to be in because it destroys your hope long term. Um, but yeah, let me see.
Yeah, got quite a few questions.
Okay, Wakas. This
Oh,
is a interesting. I have a psychological problem that when I test and strategy back test on a system, I end up seeing profits, but then when I trade it live, I'm too afraid to even trade it live. I'm so afraid of losing and blowing up accounts that lately I've actually literally stopped taking live trades, although it's completely different on a demo account. Yep. I trade confidently on a demo account, get profits, and the result is that I'm still not profitable in a live account. How do I get over this? This is a great question. Okay. So how do you get over this? Well, what you're feeling is the pressure of a live account, right? So you can do it on demo. Now, sometimes I know in my experience, a deal, this you'd be touching up more on this is they do sometimes the fees will be a little bit more on a live account versus when they simulate it.
Yeah.
They're always gonna simulate it to their advantage. So you want to trade with that broker, right? But that's any broker, guys. But what's happening is you're adding pressure to yourself when you're trading, and then what's happening is you're then not following your system or too scared to trade at all. Right. So what we have to do for you, I hope I'm saying your name, Wagos. Um, we have to write down your system, all your rules, everything, and then checklist, follow it out. Did I follow this? Step by step by step, right? And then you're going to audit every trade that you take. Nothing complicated. When I say audit, this is not an hour-long audit. This is like you're going to take 2 minutes and you're going to simply check, did I follow my rules here? Did I follow my rules here? Did I follow my rules here? Right? And then you're actually going to grade yourself on that trade. You're going to give yourself a grade. Okay, I did a 10 out of 10. Whether the trade was profitable or not is irrelevant, right? You actually want to just grade your execution.
Exactly.
We can't control outcome, guys, but we can control execution. And when we execute what we know works and we've tested over and over and over, and we know, hey, if I trade this 1,000 times and I trade it this way following these rules, I'm going to win 60% of the time. I've got a 2-to-1 risk reward ratio, which means I'm going to have a net profit gain of whatever it is, right? But we have to have that level of confidence and we have to look at this that way, right? And so with you, Wakas, you might actually need to create your own checklist and actually audit your execution. And guys, you should be rewarding yourself for execution, not from outcome. Meaning, even if you're losing, you're still rewarding yourself.
It's funny you say that, literally every single day on my live stream, those are my premium members. They literally hear me say, evaluate the execution, don't evaluate the outcome. I say that so many times.
Yep. It's not rocket science, guys. The problem is, as humans, as emotional creatures, we do complicate it. And the answer is not to hide from the emotions. The answer is actually to be more in tune and lean into those emotions. Adil, do you want to kind of do some more Q&A or you want to call it a day or do like two, three more questions? What do you want to do?
Yeah, we'll take a couple more questions. Call it in like 10 minutes.
Okay, cool.
Every time I bought an eval, I feel pressure to pass it. When I used to make a loss, even smaller. You change this now and stop. Nice. Like I said, a lot of you guys probably know the answers to your own questions as well. If you're trading on
So,
a Friday and every single Friday is a loss, stop trading on a
well,
Friday. Like,
Nos, what you need to do, bro, with that, if you really want to know if it's you or the system, you need to back test on only Friday data. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Because it could be maybe Friday's just not a day you trade. But if you haven't run any back testing on Friday where it's like, hey, if I trade the same way and I do it only on Fridays, maybe your win rate on Friday is just horrible and it's actually bringing your system down.
okay.
And so it could be that you're actually more profitable not trading on Friday. Um, yeah, it's funny, Jay. I have never watched Billions. I probably should. I've met the lady who it's based on. She's a very fascinating lady. She's actually in a lawsuit because they flew her out to Hollywood and they basically recreated her for the whole show, and then they never gave her credit for it. So anyway, ooh, this is a good one. Every time I bought an eval, I feel pressure to pass and achieve payout. But when I use it, but when used to make a loss even small, I'd go back to make sure I didn't end the day red. That's how I used to blow my accounts before passing them. I've changed this now and stopped making this mistake. Okay, I thought this was a question.
Good.
Um, Yeah, guys, we're not going to do strategy questions today for the AMN strategies, just specifically psychology. Um, how do you prevent pressure from trading? How do you prevent over trading? What's your strategy or plan? So, kind of what we talked about, Michael, right? Is we go in, first of all, we enter trading, live trading, after we've proven that we are fully confident in strategy testing and in demo testing. Okay. And that we know every eventuality for every circumstance when we trade. Okay. That's number one. If we don't have that, we shouldn't be live trading. So when you do live trading, right, you can use a strategy. I call this the bullet method. Okay. And what you can do is, right, a revolver has like six, the little cylinder, it's got six places for a bullet. Is you give yourself a number of bullets per day and per week. So maybe you can only take two trades per day. You only have two bullets for that day that you can use. Okay. So you use those two bullets, you're out. If you use those two bullets, you can't trade anymore. Okay. And how to reinforce this psychologically is after a week, maybe you have a weekly total of how many bullets you can have and you have a daily total. If you follow that, if you follow your rules on that, you get a reward. Maybe your thing is ice cream, maybe you like boba, maybe you like steak at a steakhouse, right? If that's the case, right? You take yourself to the steakhouse for every week that you follow the reward. Right now, you're going to be motivated by the steak, by something you like, to follow that bullet system, right? Does that make sense?
100%. And touching up on that, what you said as well, like with a 50K account, for example, every single one of my trading days looks like this. This is every possible outcome that will happen. I'll either be up 750, up 1250, up 500, break even, minus 5, minus a K. Nothing else will be, all my P&L looks exactly the same. And that's because you have that trading plan, you know exactly. And that removes the fear as well, because you know, worst case scenario, this is this. Best case scenario, this is this. There's no surprising days. So you need that system.
So basically, if you follow your system, you're getting one of those outcomes.
Yes, exactly.
Should anything else?
Nothing else. I'll show you my P&L. Literally every single thing is one of those outcomes. So it's no surprise. I don't blow my account in a day. I don't make a million in a day, but I'm profitable over every single month just because those are the results.
100%. Cool. Um,
You need
sure,
one
Matt.
more, one more and then wrap it up.
Say again.
One more question and then wrap it up.
Sure.
Perfect. Perfect.
Um, let's see. Do you want to? Yeah, I don't think we have any more questions, I guess. Anybody have more questions?
Charisma, I pass the eval, but then feel way more pressure when profits are involved. Should I do prop firms or a personal account? I think if you can pass an eval, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to pass a prop firm. Again, you have to have an accepted outcome for the end of the day. And if your accepted worst case scenario is too much, where that causes you to go on mental tilt, and for example, change your position size. If you know the worst possible thing, the worst day that can happen is I'd lose 0.5% of your account, then that pressure is instantly relieved. Because you know you can have, for example, 12 worst days and then you'll finally blow your account. So that one day doesn't hold so much weight and you can actually trade your chart, not trade your mind. Jay, yeah, we do one-to-one calls, Jay, part of the mentorship. Um, yeah, perfect. I think that might be everything. Yeah, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Ed, for your time. I'm sure everyone really appreciated it. So it's been very insightful, some new things and some new exercises to go away with. This is recorded, so I'll put it on YouTube in the next day or two. And then, yeah, thank you everyone for coming.
Cool. All right, guys, you can get in touch with me through a deal if you guys want. I know if you guys do apply for our mentorship, I think we're opening that back up for some more spots, right? A deal?
Yeah, for the start of August, exactly. It's literally 2 days. So apply now and then get you going for August.
Yeah. So I vet everybody for that. So if you guys, hop on, you may see me there. Um, but yeah, 100%. Cool.
No problem. Appreciate you guys. Any questions, shoot them over to the Discord to me or Ed, and we'll be happy to help. And yeah, see you later. Thank you guys.